How exactly do you stay relevant as a photographer? Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of misty morning and focus combination. You know I love that zing and that bergamot. So good. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is a photo kind of sort of day. We're talking about how to stay relevant as a photographer or as a videographer or as anyone in this industry. Our industry has been impacted greatly. Many of us today feel like a commodity. Well, the industry as a whole is kind of feeling like a commodity also. Today I want to go over some of the CIPA numbers. That is the Camera Imaging Product Association. They do reports based on how many cameras sold, how much of this, that, and the other thing, and it gives you an idea of what is going on in the market and the direction that the market is going. Now, CIPA brought these numbers to the forefront at the CP Plus show, the 2023 Camera and Photo Imaging show that is held in Japan every year. Well, a couple of years it wasn't because of the virus. But before I get into all this, I want to say that if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks, go check them out. Go over to JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, consider doing so. And if you are subscribed, click this little button over here, that notification button. So when I go live or when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. Matter of fact, I think I might go live tomorrow. So definitely click this button. Also, if you just want to say thank you for all of my hard work, there's a little thank you button down there that you can click. If not, that's fine too. Consider becoming a member of the channel. That would be awesome. I would love to have you. So let's get into this Camera and Imaging Product Association presentation, the information that they gave, which I think is very telling to the direction of the market, why we're here and where we're going, and then also hopefully associating this with what we can do to make us better, to make us more relevant. Because for the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of videographers and photographers just can't get by. They're just no longer relevant and they're being relegated by the smartphone. Anyways, let's get into this. Now, the CIPA, or the Camera and Imaging Product Association at CP Plus 2023 show, indicated the state of the camera market by giving a bunch of different graphs and talking about what the graphs represent. And it's very, very interesting. So it starts out by saying the average unit price of a digital camera is soaring. The average unit price of a digital camera in the world in 2022 is 85,000 yen. If you do the conversion on that, it comes to about $625 US. Now that's more than double in 3 years compared to before the new corona disaster. Digital cameras have shrunk with the rise of smartphones, but they are opening up new markets for beginners who want to take pictures of everyday scenes. In 2020, the digital camera market fell to 7% and 19% respectively compared to 2008. However, according to the CIPA, the value of global shipments of digital cameras in 2022 increased by 40% from the previous year due to the resumption of the economy from the COVID-19 pandemic, a significant increase for the second consecutive year. Of course, we're going to see an increase in the last couple of years because prior to that, we were in the middle of a pandemic. So yes, everything was down and now it's starting to come back up, but how much has it come back up? We'll get into that in just a second. Compared to about 10 years ago, when the camera manufacturer began to shift their main product to high-end models, the average unit price has risen 6 times. That makes sense, right? They started getting away from the compact cameras, getting into the more higher-end cameras, starting to do more of the mirrorless than the SLRs, so on and so forth. The chairman of the CIPA emphasized, quote, "Interchangeable lens cameras are growing. With the widespread of smartphones, shooting has become a daily routine, and the number of users who are good at shooting has increased rapidly." That is a very, very powerful statement. Now think about this. 10, 15 years ago, when there were a lot of point and shoots out there, how many people were actually taking photographs with those point and shoots? How many people were actually carrying the point and shoots with them everywhere they go? Now, some of them were pocketable. You could stick them in your pocket and they were smaller size, but how many people actually did it? And how many people were taking photographs on a regular basis? And how many photographs, let's say per week, were they taking with these point and shoots? I will guesstimate that it would be a hell of a lot less than the number of photographs that we are taking with our smartphones, right? So if you think about it, people, of course, are getting better and better and better at photography. Why? Because they're doing it more. So even if you're using a camera phone, if you're using a smartphone and it's not the best thing to use for taking photographs, it's still good enough. You're learning from it. You're learning composition. You're learning lighting. You're learning all sorts of techniques to get that image to be the best that it can possibly be, because you're going to post it on social media. So you want it to be the best it can be. It's no longer like a snapshot of old. Yes, a lot of people use a smartphone for just quick snapshots, but there's a lot more people that are actually using it as a means to grow a channel, to grow their Instagram, to grow their Snapchat, to grow their whatever. Right? And now, of course, video is a thing. So they're using now these camera phones or smartphones to grow their TikTok, to grow their shorts over on YouTube, to do their whatever. There is exponentially more, magnitudes more people actually taking video and photo today than there was yesterday with point and shoots. So it makes sense. People are simply getting good at it. And I'll get back to that in just a second. They follow up with, although the market is currently recovering, led by mirrorless cameras, the shipment value in 2022 is only about 1/3 of its peak. So we're still down by 66%. It's a lot. The challenge is whether we can continue to show the way to avoid commoditization. Bingo. Commoditization. If you don't know what commoditization is, it's basically the devaluing of a service or a product based on how ubiquitous it is or pervasive it is. It is basically not unique any longer. You can find it anywhere. Right? So this is what has been happening with the camera market and all of the cameras. They're all the same. Everything's the same. The point and shoot. The camera manufacturers figured out that the point and shoots are a commodity at this point because you have smartphones. And those smartphones are in everyone's pocket. So no one needs or wants a point and shoot any longer. So what the manufacturer said is, okay, we need to be unique. How are we going to do that? We're going to raise the price of all of our cameras by giving them a more advanced camera, something that they can't have with a smartphone. And that's what they did. They started discontinuing the point and shoots and going only towards, let's call it pro-am or professional type of cameras, where the price is now a lot more expensive than what it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. All right. The price has gone up. Even though camera sales are down 66%, they're still making money because the cameras that they do sell are a hell of a lot more expensive, double, triple the cost. So, in light of how the camera manufacturers have tried to solve this problem, I think that we can take a page out of their playbook and do the same. The problem that we have as photographers, videographers, we'll talk about photographers now, but a lot of the photography that is being done is commoditized. Right? It's a commodity. Anybody can do it. To do wedding photography or portrait photography or stock photography, you can watch a few videos on YouTube. You can figure it out over the course of a few weeks, and you can be, let's say, good enough to be able to get away with calling yourself a professional these days. Once again, why? There's so many people out there already doing that type of work with their smartphones, doing stock photography, portraits with their camera phones, doing some wedding shots. I know that there was one wedding that I went to where everyone was shooting with their phones and then were uploading them to the bride right then and there live, and she was displaying them on the screen, and she was keeping those images, and she was going to print the ones that she liked. And that was it. She didn't even have a photographer. It's craziness, but that is what is going on today. So my recommendation for people that do want to do photography moving forward is to make yourself non-commoditized, right? Make yourself not a commodity where you're doing something that actually needs to have some type of educational basis behind it. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you could be, for example, a medical photographer where you're working in a hospital or a research center or a publishing company or maybe even a medical school or a pharmaceutical company doing those type of photographs. Well, you're not going to be able to do that unless you know the business, unless you know medical. You have an understanding. Of course, you need to be able to do composition, you need to do lighting and all of the basic stuff that most people know today. Why? YouTube. But you also need to know the industry. Also, maybe like a criminal photographer, for example. You could be a forensics photographer. You can work in a crime scene, or maybe as a post-mortem photographer, or maybe a homicide investigation scene photographer. Whatever. These type of photography jobs, you need to have some type of education. You cannot go into a crime scene and not really know what you're doing. All right. You need to have an education. So yes, you're still a photographer, but you're not a commoditized photographer. You had to get specific education to do that photography. So a medical photographer or a criminal photographer is very specific. So not everyone can do it. Once again, there is no commodity there. There is a few people like you. And that's why you're going to make more money, number one, and you're going to be sought after, number two, which is even more important. There's a lot of photographers going out of business because no one is calling them. And the reason being is they are viewed as a commodity. So coming full circle about these numbers, we can see that the industry is actually evolving. Is what's happening. They are changing right before our very eyes. They're moving from DSLRs to mirrorless. They're moving from point and shoots to almost solely higher upper end pro-am and professional cameras. That's just the way it is. So we need to do the same. We need to migrate or move or change or metamorphosize ourselves as photographers, as videographers, so we can continue doing what we love. It is so important today, mission critical, that we move away from this commoditization and we learn daily new tasks, new means, new ways of capturing those images. So then we can go into these specialty photographic industries and be able to get work. We cannot rely on portrait and wedding and stock photo and all the rest of it anymore, because there are hundreds, there are thousands, there are millions of photographers today with their phones and their cameras in their pockets all day, every day, taking photographs, getting better than you. Bear that in mind. When you do a job once a week or twice a month or 4 times a month, how many photographs are you shooting in comparison to that kid or that guy that is shooting all day long for Instagram? The more you do, the better you get. All right. We need to be able to hone in on our skills, learn new skills, and once again, look at industries that are not commoditized. Where can we go and service the customer, where the customer will look at us as a specialist, let's say. So if you want to remain relevant today as a photographer, well, you're going to need to shuck and jive just like the camera industry is doing right now. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, throw the video a thumbs up. That would be awesome. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click this little notification button and all those things. Finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you and me over the years. And hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all.